place that makes some kind of sense, right? Which is kind of like, I don't even know where we're going right now. So
But I can
can
answer
I
you
ask
both.
you? Can I ask you, what do you think Darth's argument is for the existence of God?
Well, I can hardly even get into any of the videos that you upload. I mean, I'm really thankful you uploaded them because I thought Darth was a madman just being on the internet for all these years until I actually watched your videos, because this guy doesn't even have a YouTube account, which I thought was actually pretty shocking. But anyway, I actually watched some of your videos, and it just I can't even get to through the arguments because everyone keeps going through the meta with the guy. They keep just characterizing him and just get mad at him. And so I mean, you'd really hardly finish the argument with him.
Is that what you think? You,
There are some
you.
videos where Darth does try to give an argument. You haven't seen those, have you?
I'm not sure which. Is there a certain person that he was talking to that you're referring to?
I don't know, Tom. The ones where he affirms the consequent. You have like a bunch of those. Who was he talking to?
Yeah, I got a bunch of those.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I've just heard him just talking about the non-God world, and typically the atheists will just I haven't heard a concrete answer to that, and maybe you can answer that. What typically most atheists will
But see,
say.
the
You haven't heard
interesting
it.
thing.
What is?
Sorry, go ahead.
But,
You
well,
haven't had.
you know that they get lost in the
You
weeds.
haven't heard an answer to the question Darth asked, which is tantamount to, what is the secret of the universe?
The
He
secret
hasn't
of
heard,
the
he's
universe.
saying he
Yeah.
hasn't heard an
That's somehow
atheist.
compelling for you. For what reason?
He's saying he
No,
hasn't heard an atheist answer the question, "What is your ultimate reference point for truth?" or whatever. That was like a satisfactory answer or something like that. That's what you're
yeah.
saying,
So
right?
what is that? What is that answer then?
Well, I mean, there's probably a number of different ways to approach answering that question. But see, I think the thing that's interesting about it is that Darth actually wants to claim that it's not possible on what he calls the non-God worldview for there to be an answer to that question. And what's interesting is he can't defend that claim.
Well, before we go about if actually Darth is able to do that or not able to do that, what is the reference point?
I mean, different atheists probably can give different answers to that question.
So it's not
But
fully
I mean,
determined.
I
see,
gave
like
one already.
see, the thing that's interesting is that Darth doesn't say, "I don't know of an answer to that question," right? He says it's impossible, right? And that would require an argument, right, to show that there's some, let's say, contradiction entailed by there being this, whatever he calls it, this reference point for truth um, on atheism, right? That if atheism were true, it would entail that it was impossible that there was some reference point for truth, right? But see, what's interesting is Darth doesn't actually have an argument for that, so he's not actually, as far as I can see, justified in the claim, right?
Well, just simply put, he would just say that in the God world, there's things that are impossible. So because there's God, now there's objective facts that derive from God, and now there's things that you can actually know for certainty. Whereas in the non-God world, and this is another question I never heard answered, or maybe I just didn't hear the right video, is how in the non-God world would things be impossible, or how would you know that anything would be impossible?
Yeah, I'm saying Darth likes to ask these questions that most atheists don't have an answer for, right? But what's interesting is that asking a question, if somebody says, "Well, I don't know," that doesn't actually establish the truth of his claim, right? Which is that it's impossible. Also, you have to be careful when he talks about God, right? He tends to slip kind of illicitly back and forth between some generic notion of God and the God of Christianity. So, in fact, the claim he wants to make is even stronger than that you can't have, this reference point for truth or whatever that's supposed to be on atheism. He wants to say you can't have it on any other worldview than the Christian worldview, right? And that's not an argument. That's not a claim that he can support either.
Yeah, well, sure, but I think we're getting lost in the weeds here. Originally, the entire question I was bringing up is if Tom
Yeah,
actually
I told
supported
you.
this
Look,
person
I
or didn't,
answered you.
and
Look, look. I know what you're gonna say. I answered you, and I take that question to mean, what is the secret of the universe? And I don't know the secret of the universe, but you're acting like that's a big deal. Like, who the fuck cares?
okay, well, sure, you might not think that's
Do you think
relevant,
it's a
or
big
you
deal that I don't know the secret of the universe? You're like, oh fuck, oh shit, dude, that's real then. Seriously?
but I think that just secretly you admire Darth. I mean, if you've done this many years of work on him, I mean, this is someone significant in your life at this point. Am I wrong?
Is that what you mean by admire? That there's someone significant as far as content in my life? If so, then yeah.
Okay, no,
Is that all you mean?
that's what I'm just trying to check. So why do
Well,
you think he's
that's
so
that
significant
just
versus
just to
anyone else?
just to be clear, that's like a proprietary definition of admire. Admire is usually typically like a positive term, right? If you're saying like I
So you
admire him for being like a goofball, lulscow, well, that's not really
no, well, what do
real
you think is
usage.
so amusing about him, about him?
He says crazy shit.
No, but obviously you
He
know that. So
commits
you wouldn't
logical fallacies, like
you
affirmative
wouldn't consider him an
consequence.
intelligent man.
Oh, I do think he's intelligent. I think he's completely blinded by his religion.
How do you know that?
Oh, because that's how I explain. I mean, what are you asking me? How do I have like access to his mental states or something?
Well, if anything, you would know him the best out of probably most people. I mean, but I'm just asking, how do you
Well,
draw the conclusion?
well, know him. Okay, well, you're not asking me like how do I know it for like a fact? You're just asking me why would I come to that conclusion, right? Because I see that he is able to kind of like reason in certain spots, right? But what's just when it comes to religion, it's like all bets are off, right?
Well, that's all he talks about is his views on religion, right?
Nope.
Nah.
Okay.
He lost his mind once on Apple versus PC computers arguments in the
There's a lot
same
of stuff
vein.
talks about politics.
Yeah. COVID. He fucked up on COVID pretty bad.
Yeah, fucked up on COVID really bad. You want to see the COVID stuff?
Maybe I haven't seen that video.
Ben,
Look
what's
that
your
up.
angle on this? Because you smell from a mile off. This is motivated by something, and it's not. It's just you're telegraphing everything. So just give it up. What's the angle?
No. I generally have just watched somehow his because I typically watch religious debates on YouTube, and I'm just saying
So
Tom's
what's your take of
content
it
is
then?
coming to my channel.
Yeah.
All
Okay.
right.
Oh, so is that
Yeah.
was that the question you were
Well,
trying
that
to
was
ask?
just
I mean, if you want
apparently
to just
obvious that,
ask
that
that.
you came in acting like you were inquiring about this in a genuine matter, but when it was completely motivated.
No, I was just generally asking if Tom was with on his side or wasn't. I couldn't truly tell because I've never heard Tom respond or talk to him before, and Darth doesn't have his own channel, so that's what I was wondering.
Literally talk to him.
Some
There's literally a playlist of me talking to Darth on my channel.
no,
Do
maybe I haven't seen those.
you know why Darth doesn't have his own channel?
No,
It's because he doesn't want his gaffes to be
That's correct.
recorded so that people can use them to point out what a dumbass he is.
I mean, I just asked a moment again if Tom even thought he was dumb, and Tom even said himself he was intelligent. So, do you think he's dumb?
Yes.
How so?
I mean, this is a person who says stuff like 1 can equal 3 in spiritual math, that clocks don't measure time, um, that chance is another version of necessity, 2 intersecting streams as opposed to 1. Like, he says dumb stuff all the time, stuff that's like so dumb, it's mind-boggling. I mean, that's what was interesting about the COVID stuff, right? Like, it was like 3 or 4 days before, at the current rate of, at the current death rate, um, he said there wouldn't be even what was it, 20 or 25,000 deaths, right? By August.
The highest he gave a window that would not be exceeded, and that was 25 to 30,000. So it's essentially saying 30,000 would not be with death count.
Yeah, and it was like at what? Like it was like at 18,000 or something with
Time it was about 18,000, and the daily death rate was like 1,800.
yeah,
So I mean,
daily
like
death
just
rate is
doing some
1,800 a
quick,
day. And this was like
just doing some
in,
quick finger math. It's just like
yeah,
we're
well,
getting there in like 10
Sugar
days.
went in to talk to him and said, you know, at the current death rate, that target will be reached in 3 days. And this is like, we're talking about June, right? What was it, like late June or something that he was saying it
Yeah.
wouldn't reach, it would top out? And Darth said, not necessarily, right? He couldn't understand that at an 1,800 a day death rate, right? If you're, you know, in the early 20,000s, you're going to reach 25,000 within a few days, right? He couldn't even understand that. I mean, the guy's a
Here's
fucking
another one
moron.
banned out. There's another one where it says it's him speculating and talking about how you know, this person who broke into Nancy Pelosi's house was like a prostitute and all this conspiracy theory like shit from Bible Gateway
Sure. Well,
Pundit, and he was
yeah,
wrong about everything.
yeah, no, and that's totally plausible for me. I never talked or haven't watched any of the videos where he's talking on political or social issues like you guys were mentioning, and I mean but I'm just saying anything I've watched from him, it talks about typically the stuff from whatever modern day debates, the stuff about where his philosophical arguments, and that sounded for me, at least from my perspective, watching that, it sounded pretty solid, and every typical
Okay,
conversation
but
point
I
was
asked you
usually
what's his
madness.
argument, and you said you didn't know what it was because you never got there. So now I don't understand what you're saying.
Yeah,
No,
see, the
Now
well,
it
interesting
I'm
thing
sounds
just
like
saying
about
it
saying that
Darth,
typically
his
starts with a
arguments are pretty
question, right?
solid.
yeah,
No,
like,
I'm saying, mm.
well, let me just
Well,
ask you
I think
this.
his argument was you couldn't know anything from a non-God world. Essentially,
Yeah, we
I
know.
think.
We heard the claim
That's
20
a claim.
times.
That's not an argument. That's a claim.
What does God provide to improve our epistemic position?
The
Something for
claim
certain.
again.
Yeah,
Can you
so
please give an argument for
here's a,
that?
How's
so,
that performed? How's that done?
so like, here's a problem, right? What do you think Darth means by knowledge?
Justify true belief.
Yeah, do you know what he says about whether God has justification for beliefs, his beliefs?
Oh, do you say that again?
Do you know what Darth says about whether God has justification for his beliefs?
God's
Yeah.
beliefs you're talking about?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what that means, but no, I'm not sure.
You're not sure what that means?
No, I wouldn't think that God has beliefs.
Yeah, okay. So God doesn't actually have beliefs, right? Now, if knowledge is justified true belief, what do you think the claim of omniscience is?
Well, I would just say God knows things because He declared all things.
I don't understand.
Well, I'm
What
just
is it?
saying
What
God
difference
knows the
does it?
future because He
What difference
decided it.
does it? Yeah, but I'm not talking about the future. I'm talking about all propositions.
Well, just in the same situation that God knows anything because He made it.
I don't know what you mean by he made it.
This
He didn't
this
make
guy might be a
himself, right?
superstar. You might be a superstar. And
Oh
not in the
God.
sort of like Lulz Kelsey way, but sort of in the like it's sort of like the Danny way where he's got this position, but like every time he tries to like, you know, defend it, it's like the Danny sort of like types thing.
No, I'm just a typical Calvinist.
Oh, you're a
Yeah, but
Calvinist too.
No,
in any
so
case,
I'm just saying God knows all things because He made all things. So I'm saying
yeah, but you
God couldn't
said,
have knowledge of
but
abstracts, things that He didn't create.
you said knowledge is justified true belief, and you're saying that God doesn't have any beliefs, right? So
Yeah,
that must mean when you say God knows things, that must mean that you're equivocating on knowledge, right?
well, I'm saying that I would think the definitions for human knowledge and God's knowledge are different things, different
Yeah,
sort of
and so
concepts.
and so do you know what equivocate on knowledge means?
To equivocate for God's
Yeah,
knowledge and man's knowledge,
to equivocate on knowledge. Do you understand what I mean by that? Do you know what equivocate means?
to make equal.
No. To
No,
equivocate
I'm not
means
sure what you're talking about.
To equivocate means to use the same word in two different senses, right?
Okay.
In the same context, right? So in fact, when Darth says that God is omniscient, meaning that God knows all true things, right? It can't be the case if God has no beliefs that he knows anything in the sense that human beings know things, right? So in fact, God doesn't know anything, right? Now, how is it
Well,
that a
are
being,
you saying
how is it,
by Darth? I just want to make sure I understand what you said by Darth's definitions.
yeah, if you're right that Darth would agree that God doesn't have any beliefs, which I'm not sure what he would say. He certainly says he doesn't have any justification for his beliefs, which is enough. If he thinks knowledge is justified true belief, it's enough to establish that God doesn't know anything, right?
Are you talking about by the human's definition of knowledge?
Yeah, I'm talking about the definition of knowledge you gave, right, which is justified
Yeah,
true belief.
but we're assuming that we're talking about humans when we're giving that definition, right?
Yeah, so,
We're
well,
not that the God's
I'm,
outside the realm of that definition, right?
I'm using the word knowledge and univocally rather than equivocally, right? So when you know something, right, God just doesn't know that thing, right? If you know some proposition, God doesn't know that proposition to be true because he doesn't know anything, right, on your own definition. Now, you might want to say, oh, there's this other thing that God has. Let's call it schmolage. I don't know what that is, right, because it's not
No, well,
justified true belief.
I think you're jumping the ship. I'm just saying that knowledge definition is specifically for humans, for human
Yeah, that's
knowledge.
fine. That's fine. So God doesn't actually have knowledge. He has something else, right?
Yeah, it's got
No,
schmolage, right?
no,
He has
I would just say
schmolage.
that it. No, but I would just define his knowledge as differently, and specifically the things
Yeah,
that he
would
So,
made that he knows
look,
about.
yeah,
yeah, that would be
defining. Look,
equivocating.
yeah,
Well, what's wrong with that?
Well, I'm just saying, I don't understand why God
D-
having schmolage, right, is
Well,
relevant to the question.
you're acting like most words don't have multiple definitions in the
No, I'm
dictionaries,
not.
depending on their
No, I'm
use.
not.
yeah. That's not going to be a definition you're going to find in a dictionary, is it?
No, but this is the point here is that obviously depending on how a word is used in different contexts, that they have a different
Why don't you use a
definition.
different word?
I mean,
Let's just
I think we
agree.
I think we all get
Let's
the
just
point here.
agree that God has schmolage, whatever that is. Now, I'm not clear on what that is, but because it's not a belief, right? God doesn't actually believe anything, right? On your view. So God has this property, schmolage. I don't know what that is. And that's supposed to be
Yep.
relevant to some problem for atheism. How? I don't get it.
No, we're talking about two different things here. We're talking about the God world with the non-God world. I mean, that's are we talking
Yeah,
about
I'm
just
trying to
the God world? I mean,
understand.
that's
I'm trying to understand. Is there some reason why atheists can't have justified true beliefs?
well, yeah. You don't have a again. This is the original point I brought up, and again, you said that no one is or no one in this the atheistic community is on the same point here. Is where is the reference point of truth, and everyone has
Yeah,
different
I don't know what you
various.
mean by reference point of truth. But if
Well,
you
to
want to
justify true
say,
belief, you would
if
have to
you
know
want
what's
to
true,
say,
right?
what do you mean you'd have to know what's true?
If
That's a
it's
tautology.
if it's a true justified
Yeah,
true belief, then it has to be
yeah,
true, right?
yeah. So it's a
That's what I'm
tautology
saying. So
that
you
it's a tautology that if you know something, it's true, right? That's a tautology, right?
oh sure, if you
Okay.
actually do truly know it.
So yeah. So the argument is. So the question is, in virtue of what can an atheist not have justified true beliefs?
No, I'm asking if they even know that their beliefs are true.
It's a tautology that if they know something, that those beliefs are true. Now you want to claim that an atheist can't have a justified true belief, but I want to know the argument for that.
I'm asking what is the reference point of truth,
No, I'm
which would be part of the
asking you.
definition.
Your claim is that an atheist can't have a justified true belief.
No,
Do you have an
I
argument?
never said I never even said that. I'm
Okay.
asking that.
Yeah. So I don't see any reason to think atheists can't have a justified true belief. Maybe Darth has given some reason to think that. Do you have any idea what it would be?
Of why he thinks that atheists can't think things are or can't have knowledge.
No, yeah, can't have justified true beliefs.
Well, again, this is what I'm asking. How would you know anything's true in reality?
What do you mean how? You'd give a justification.
No, that could be a false justification, right?
What difference does that make?
Yeah,
Do you think
and
all
Jesus and
justifications are
Darth.
equal?
Yeah, and Darth writing in God could be a false justification for how he knows too, right?
No, but how would
Right?
you know that
Right?
that's absolutely
Right?
wrong?
Right?
No, I'm
Right?
agreeing with you. I'm agreeing with you.
Right?
That's a
Okay, okay,
possibility.
okay. So you seem to be under the impression that when Darth fills in the blank with God done it, then that's somehow better than some atheist writing in something else, right?
Well, the difference here is that's an absolute standard. What is the standard the atheist is using? And
What does it
you
What does
admitted
it mean
yourself
to
that it's
say? What
everywhere.
does it mean to say it's an absolute standard?
There's a standard of what's true and false.
Yeah, and so what is the absolute adding?
No, I'm just saying it wouldn't change. I'm just emphasizing it.
So absolute is adding nothing. There's a standard of true and false.
Yeah, well, a standard that doesn't change.
Yeah. So why is it that true and false has to change on atheism?
No, I'm just. What do you mean?
Well, you said the difference is there's an absolute standard. So I take it that you mean, since absolute is redundant, you just mean standard, right? I take it that
Well,
you mean that
again,
you can have a
I'm not
standard.
saying that the standard will change if I disappear, or that the standard will change in 10 years. I'm just saying maybe I should have said it's eternal standard.
Okay, and why can't you have an internal standard on atheism?
No, I'm asking what is the eternal standard?
Well, I don't understand the question. So things are true eternally or false eternally, right? That's the standard. What is God? What is
What?
putting God there at? I don't get it.
No, but I'm just
I don't
saying
get any
it's
of this,
very
Jack.
it's very specific, it's very concrete, it's very understandable. I'm just saying in the atheist thing, you even said, or someone said earlier here, it's everywhere. It's a mystery. It's not, again, everyone has their own position. So I'm just saying it's all over the place. It's not consistent, right?
When you say, is there a standard, right? Are you just saying, are some propositions true?
I'm saying, how would I know that if anything's true? How would I know the reality that I'm living in is true?
Yeah, we've been over the how I would know thing, right? Seems like that atheism and
You said
theism are on a par, right?
you
We
said through
already
justification,
went
right?
over. Yeah, and so that same is
But
true on the theistic worldview, right?
well, how do I know that I have a valid justification?
What do you mean by valid?
Other Well, because Tom was just saying earlier that just using Lucky Charms as a reference point of truth
You
is
dropped your.
it.
Sorry, go
Hmm?
ahead. No, sorry, I was talking to somebody else.
Oh, yeah, no, you were just talking about obviously not all arguments they're not the same. All reference points aren't the same. You can't just use Lucky Charms to justify the things that you believe because it was
Yeah,
spelled out in my bold Lucky Charms, right?
but I don't see what difference it makes because I'm not seeing how God makes any difference.
No, I'm just saying that there's some absolute. I couldn't know anything without God. That's pretty much the argument.
Wait, you
That's
could
the
What's the
not
claim.
argument for
know.
that?
You
Well,
could
well,
not know anything
regardless,
about
it's.
God. Yeah, so that's what I'm asking you to justify.
But so in the non-God world, how would I know anything?
No, asking a
Yeah,
question
For
is not a
hey,
justification.
stop asking him
justification.
questions.
Yeah,
No,
asking a
because
question
I
isn't
don't
a
know. I don't even know if
justification
the
for your
reality I'm
claim.
living in is actually if I'm perceiving it correctly.
Look, can you make when you say that uh, you couldn't know anything unless God existed, right?
Mm.
Do you have a reason to believe that?
Reason to believe what?
That proposition?
That what God said is true.
No, that you can't know anything unless God exists.
Yeah, I'm asking you. Then
No,
again,
give an argument. No, no,
I'm telling
no.
you, I
Stop
don't
asking the
understand how
question
in a
and give an
non-God world.
argument,
Okay,
Bando.
no, I'm again. This is my question
No,
that I've
you've
been
been
asking
asked
because
a
I
question. You've
couldn't
been
make
asked for an
sense.
argument why you can't have knowledge without God. You won't answer it.
Well, this is the point. I keep bringing up that I don't know the reality that I'm experiencing is actually
Okay,
true.
so make an argument about that.
Wait, but how? Wait, but I don't understand. So you
I
don't
was just
know
saying.
something. You don't know a specific thing. How does it follow that that means there can't be knowledge?
What do you mean that certain people are able to access the knowledge and some people aren't?
Well, you keep trying to say that you could only have this knowledge on theism, right? I'm just not understanding why.
No, it's essentially what I'm getting at is I don't know if again, I mean, the brain of the vat sort of hypothesis, or regardless of the Truman Show, sort of, or the Matrix. Again, I
But I
don't know
don't
if these
see how
circumstances are applicable to me.
I don't know how theism solves that problem.
Well, it says that objectively, I'm not in that situation. The reality that I'm experiencing is actually consistent with what I'm experiencing.
How does theism say that?
Well, it's pretty much the maker of reality is confirming the reality.
That doesn't follow from theism.
What, that God creates all
No,
existence
I'm
and
saying
confirms that
it's
you are in the
consistent.
existence that you're
It's
experiencing.
consistent with the existence of God for you to be systematically deceived.
Wait, what is that? Where was any deceit or being deceived playing here?
You can't be in the Truman Show right now
You were talking
with
about
God
the
existing.
Truman Show and the brain in a vat hypothesis and so on.
Mm-hmm.
There could be a God, but you could still be a brain of that, right?
Yeah,
How would
there's
you know
no
the difference?
inconsistency between you being a brain in a vat and God existing. So, if your worry is some kind of these kind of global skeptical kind of challenges, I don't see how God solves any of them.
Wait, so you're saying in the God world, people could be in the Matrix zone?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's right.
No, no, but the issue is that there's obviously some limitations of what technology is actually able to do in terms of virtual reality.
Fucking hell.
Have you seen actually
Okay,
any?
hold on a second. Let me.
Have you seen?
That assumes you're not a brain of that
Okay,
right now.
okay,
To make
okay,
that
okay. Let me
claim.
just. I can dispense with this really quickly. If the Matrix were possible, do you think that I could put you into the Matrix and the setting is 1920?
Well, you just literally just said if the Matrix possible, you can do, yeah, you can do anything in that. Yeah, sure.
Okay, but you're saying that the Matrix isn't possible because we don't have that technology. You're saying this world
Yes.
that I'm experiencing, which is debated whether it is Matrix world or not Matrix world, I'm going to conclude that it's not Matrix world, and that's because the technology is not available. But you just simultaneously said that if this were Matrix world, which it could be Matrix world or not Matrix world, you could be put into a 1920s setting, correct?
Well, I'm just saying that in the God world, things are impossible, such as the possibility of using Matrix-like technology. But again,
What
if it
the
was in the
How is that
God
hell?
world,
possible?
yeah,
How,
I'm saying that there's things absolutely impossible, such
Wait,
as the
okay, we'll get
Matrix
to
in terms
that
of the
in
brain
we'll get
experience.
to that in a second. Okay, we'll get to that in a second. All right, that's interesting in itself. But did you understand my point? Because you didn't seem to like acknowledge it,
No, I'm saying
disagree with
in
it,
the
agree with
Matrix
it.
world, you literally just said if it was possible, could you take me to the 1920s and set up all this other sort of details? And I said, sure, yeah, if that's like that's the situation, right? Yeah, absolutely.
Right, but you're saying the Matrix world is not possible because we don't have that technology, right?
Well, because there's limitations to in the God world, there's limitations of technology, specifically to virtual reality. So I'm just saying it's essentially that things are impossible, such as the Matrix.
Yeah.
why do you think that?
You want to cite scripture for that or something, or like what do you?
Well, what do you mean? If we're made in the image of God, essentially, He breathed in a spirit in the very beginning into humanity, and essentially that, yeah, I mean that there's limitation. I mean, there's certain limitations. If God would be disproven immediately if people could live forever. Essentially, again, people keep literally trying to study and try to make, freeze their corpses in hopes of one day them being revived. But I'm just saying that there clearly is
That was so
limitations of
many
all.
different unrelated tangential things that you said that uh, I'm kind of amazed. What is it about
There's
the
limitations,
hypothesis?
right?
What is it about um, the premise God is real and Matrix technology is real, which is contradictory?
Well, this is all subjective. This is just my interpretation.
Your interpretation of scripture?
In specific, this issue, right? Because it's not exhaustive of all subjects.
So what are you interpreting? What is the subject of interpretation where you're coming to this conclusion?
Man's limits of technology based on God's design of it.
Man's limits on technology based on God's
It's just too
design
much
of
to
man?
unpack. That's too much to unpack.
Yeah, and again, I gave a very simple thing to back that up. Where obviously we know where people try to freeze corpses in hopes of reviving them hundreds of years down the line. Very rich people, and obviously no
Yeah.
one has defeated death except Jesus Christ. But all other humans are hopeful
There's
of
literally
knowledge of
people
the
that
future.
rose that that like a whole cemetery like rose from the grave, right?
What do you mean?
In the Bible, the
At
dead
the end,
walked.
end of the Gospel of
Are you, are
Matthew.
you, are you talking about Matthew?
Yes.
The land of Matthew?
Yeah, the resurrection of the
Yeah.
saints in Jerusalem.
Yeah,
Matthew
but
27, I believe.
I'm saying in the sense of, yeah, God raises people to life, even Lazarus. Yeah, sure, but I'm just saying by the God's hand. That's the only. Maybe I should have clarified more. Obviously, God can resurrect people. Yeah, He's in the business of doing that. But I'm saying man reviving other human life is impossible.
Yeah, but perhaps
Why?
Satan could do it, right?
You know,
Satan can revive people.
Yeah.
Darth Dawkins, do you think that when he raised people from the dead, it's a miracle?
You said if Darth Dawkins did it.
No, let's just pause that. Do you think that when Jesus or God raises people from the dead, it is a miracle?
Yeah, it's miraculous. Yes.
Okay, now Darth Dawkins' position on that is that he's not violating any laws, any natural laws. And in fact, God is working within natural laws to do miracles. So if that's the case, that means that natural laws exist in which people can be raised from the dead, but you're telling me that it's impossible.
Impossible for other men to revive other men, or for God. I never said it was impossible for God to raise other
You're
men
saying it's
to
possible for
life.
men to do it, right?
Yes.
And then if it's the case that miracles are just the use of natural laws, why would it be impossible?
Well, again, I'm not necessarily sure or prescribing Darth interpretation on miracles, but I'm essentially saying I'm not sure, like, specifically. I don't think anyone could objectively know how God does miracles, but I wouldn't have an issue with saying that God overrides or changes temporarily or temporarily pauses,
Oh, so there's no
universal
uniformity.
laws.
You deny the uniformity of nature then.
No, I mean he can pause it.
Yeah, that's pausing the uniformity of nature. That's a violation of the uniformity of nature
How would that be a violation?
because nature is no longer uniform. There's a pausing of uniformity.
But in certain I mean, it's still uniformed in certain sections where it's intended to be uniformed.
And
I'm
that's
just saying
gonna
that in that
matter
certain section where
why?
God intended to do a miracle, it was intended to be paused.
Yeah, uniformity is with reference to the totality. So you
Of the
appealing
totality
to
of the
you
totality of where it was intended to be universal. Well, I'm saying in
no,
that
all
specific instance,
things, all things, all things.
you're, yeah,
Which is
that's
why,
what.
which is why you can observe uniformity in all the experiments in the world, but still not have established the
Did you hear what
uniformity
he
of
just said,
nature
Tom? Where
deductively.
it was intended to be universal. Only in
Yes, thank
specific
you.
spots it was intended to be universal.
Yeah, it wasn't supposed to be
Oh,
universal in
what the
the
hell do you
specific
think
area
universal means,
of the
dude?
miracle.
The uniformity of nature means that everywhere laws and things
Where?
and particles are
Well,
doing what they're
well,
supposed to
where
be
is
doing.
everywhere?
Holy
Every
crappers, dude.
possible location, spatial temporal location.
Yeah, I'm saying the same thing where it was intended to be.
You're not saying the same thing. You're saying that certain temporal locations cannot be
In
uniform.
time and at certain times in certain temporal locations. Yeah, that again, that doesn't in that
That
specific moment.
defeats the idea of universality, dude.
No, again,
Uniformity of nature
universal
means that
where it was
all
intended to be
locations
universal.
are not violating the uniformity, right? You're saying that no, it can still be uniform even though some locations are in violation of the uniformity.
No, well, it just depends how you say everywhere. Because like literally, if I go outside right now and say, okay, well,
Told
there's
you.
bugs everywhere
Told you.
outside
Yeah.
right now. That it depends the context where you say everywhere.
So you would just be equivocating, right? You would just be equivocating, right?
I mean, you could say that.
Yeah, I could, and I would be right. Right?
What do you mean by that?
What do you mean by that?
I could just say that you're equivocating, and when I just said that you're equivocating, it would be true that you're equivocating because you're using everywhere in two different senses.
That's how all words are. All words have multiple different definitions.
Wow.
You're aware of that, right?
And all words may have different definitions, but appealing to the same definition, right? The same word, and then trying to use it in a different sense without it being the
Well,
case.
there's context, right, behind every word I use, and depending on the context is different. Well, you do not agree with that? I think that's a very simple thing to agree on.
That's what equivocation is, right? You're using it in two different senses.
Wow. If you're saying universality only applies in specific places, then you've just completely you're not even talking about universality at that point.
Wait, do you think the universal laws apply also to where God resides in spiritual realms?
I mean, if he's included,
Well, I thought I was very clear because when I talked about uniformity in nature, I said spatiotemporal realms, right? Do you think the
Well,
spiritual realm is spatiotemporal?
thank you. So now you're being more specific, and now I'm just
I'm not
adding
just
another
being
layer
specific
of saying,
now. That's what I said
well,
before,
no, okay,
and I'm
okay,
reiterating
sure.
now. Don't try to tell
I'm
me
glad.
that I like
No,
all of
no.
a sudden I'm like coming to my senses.
Well, no. I'm glad you reiterated it, and I'm just adding a different or an additional layer to it.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is that when I say the uniformity of nature, when Darth says the uniformity of nature, when we talk about the uniformity of nature within these discussions and like philosophical discussions, we're talking about everything everywhere is uniform. Okay, so if there is in the Andromeda galaxy one like fundamental particle that zigs when it's supposed to zag, there is no uniformity of nature. Hello?
Uh-oh.
yeah.
Like he's a very
No,
entry
man,
level
but
creature for him.
don't I'm telling you, this guy I like this guy. This guy has a lot of potential. I mean, he's not like flying off the handle. I mean, he's trying. Oh wait, how does Darth say this? I have to say that, we do disagree vehemently, but I have to commend you for the way that you're carrying yourself. A lot of atheists aren't. So I have to say that, we don't agree, but we're getting along.
So you really do admire him, huh? Sorry, I had to come back. I didn't hear your last question.
Oh, I was just saying that like if a particle in the Andromeda galaxy zigs when it was supposed to have zagged, then that is a violation of the uniformity of nature.
Yeah, I'm saying that God fully intended every single gust of wind is controlled by the decree of God. That God predestined that gust of wind to occur in that certain way. So I'm just saying
Then you're
for
not a
even
Calvinist.
no, I am a Calvinist. So I'm saying in specifics of the laws of nature or the uniformity of nature that yeah they are constants where they are supposed to be applied and enacted, and that's typically all of we would just say all of creation in a general sense. But specifically though, not in the areas where God is intended and predetermined certain miracles to occur.
I mean, like, what does this have to do with the uniformity of nature? Like, either you agree that that's what constitutes the uniformity of nature or not.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
would be
again,
God
all
decreeing that the uniformity in nature would be violated. That's all.
no, not
Yeah.
that it would be violated, but it's enacted in certain. And we would just say all places, just as an easy reference, because we can't literally express every single physical location. But all places it was intended to be enacted, which was mostly all of creation, except these specific areas where God predestined to perform miracles.
Yeah, but we're not cashing out uniformity of nature with regards to like whatever God decided this particle is going to zig or zag. We're cashing out uniformity of nature with regards to, is the particle's movement consistent with natural laws? And if he just like predestined to zig when it violates natural law when it should have zagged, well then that's just not uniformity of nature.
Yeah,
Yeah,
given the
but again,
Calvinistic worldview, I don't see how you can. I don't see how you can know that the future will resemble the past at all. I would say
what do you mean?
You know, I like you.
Calvinism,
Badu,
inductive knowledge is impossible. Your worldview
no,
would
Bandu, I
lead to
like you.
absurdity.
Bandu, for right now, I want you to come back every single day. Right now, I want you to come back every single day. I want you to
Appreciate
stay
that.
for hours every day.
Yeah, I would say an
Well,
atheistic worldview where there's
How's your
brute force
stamina, Bandu? Do you have
regularities.
stamina?
We can use induction, but in your Calvinistic worldview, inductive inference is impossible.
no,
So
I'm
I
saying
think
that God
under
knows something.
atheism, knowledge is
Yeah.
more possible than under Calvinism.
You couldn't know that the future is going to be like the past, but again, you would just have to
Hold on a
presuppose
second. Let me just
and it
pause
would
this
be
because
hopeful for
I
that.
need to know a little bit more about you because like I might have to make some roster changes or something. Like how old are you? How old are you? About I mean,
This is my 20s.
oh, you're in your 20s. Okay. And you're new to Clubhouse and everything, or you've been around for a while?
No, I just downloaded this today. Actually, it's my first time using it.
Oh, awesome. You think you can come on like, let's say, every day?
As much as possible.
Okay. Are you interested in converting atheists to? Well, I guess that's a dumb question. You're a Calvinist, right?
No, I'd say only God
Um,
could change anyone's position. Yeah.
well, only God could do the saving, but you can set up some of the dominoes, right?
Well, if
Yeah,
God,
you'd be the
if
means in
God,
which God regenerates
Yeah, God could
Tom,
use you.
right?
Yeah, Floyd's
well,
right.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm saying if God intended me to do that, yeah. But
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So would you be willing to maybe explore that possible intention?
God
You're
foreordains the
asking me
means
to.
as well as the ends, right?
Well, yeah, he determines all things, and that's what I was trying to say earlier, Floyd. Is that yeah, God knows the future only because he determined the future.
Right.
I hate to I hate to maybe I'm jumping the gun a little bit here, but there's a there's another Calvinist on here, and he's got a weird position, and that actually, you know what? Can I play it for you? I'll play it for you.
You can play videos on
It's
here.
well, I can.
That's cool.
I can.
It's gonna come through as audio.
Okay, here we go. Just listen to this, and I want to get your opinion.
Cool.
Dude. Grandpa Lee.
Yeah, whatever, dude. By the way, John, something that I do think that you said was stupid was that you said that's not controversial to say it's not even a big deal to say like if God, what'd you say? If God permitting child rape is
God permitting babies to be raped is good. That?
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good for God to permit. Maybe I said it that way as well, right?
Yeah, but
Listen,
I
a
just
statement everyone signs off on. Everyone signs off on that.
like if God, what'd you say? If God permitting child rape is
God permitting babies to be raped is good. Permitting babies to be raped is good.
Okay, so you got the gist of it. Now that's another Calvinist. And see, I was in a disagreement with him. I was like, you know what? I don't know. I don't think everybody signs off on that. What do you think, man? You sign off on that?
Yeah. No. So God creates evil. Do you understand that from the Calvinist position? Yeah. So God
Is he
ordains evil.
is he the author of evil?
So I mean that's just a politically triggered term. But I would just avoid that because of all the implications of it. But I would just say he creates evil.
Well,
I mean,
like this isn't really a place where you have to worry about those politics, right? Because
yeah.
you know we're not afraid of what the word of God is going to be construed as, like politically, right?
Would you say God is the author of
I,
sin?
I'm just saying it's more specific to say he's the creator of sin.
Is he the author of evil?
The author of sin?
He's the creator of it. So I'm saying my term is more
Okay,
specific than the
okay,
author.
okay. So let me ask you this: you seem to be hesitant. You don't want to say he's the author of evil. What's the distinction between author of evil and creator of evil?
Yeah. So I think how many people interpret the author of evil is meaning that he is the actor of evil. So in my position, or really the Reformed position, that he is the creator of it and he fully controls it, but he's not the actor of it.
Yeah, but wouldn't the author be the playwright, the designer, the producer of it, rather than the acting character?
I mean, I'm not particularly sure about that. I mean, I haven't met anyone that really, or read anyone
You
that
don't
talks
know.
about being the author. I know my position. That's the one I was describing, where he's not the actor of it. It's other actors of evil. If anything,
Well, the human agent would be the proximate cause, but God is the ultimate and remote cause, right?
well, yeah, he's the cause of everything, including
He's the
evil.
primary cause, where man is secondary, right? According
Well, no,
to the Westminster
man is the
Confession.
manifestation of evil, or the demons, or whatever.
Yeah. So let's just see where do we pick up here? So everything that occurs is good, right?
No,
Everything
some
that
things occur that are
every
evil.
everything that occurs ought to occur, right?
Well, everything that occurs ought to occur. Exactly.
Yeah, that's a better phrasing.
Yeah,
And so
sometimes evil ought to occur.
so child rape occurs, right?
Yeah.
And so conclusion, and this is the question to you. Child rape ought to occur, question mark?
Yeah, in certain cases, yeah.
What do you when you say
unlike the other speaker, I do not think it's good. I think that he's being
right, you think
confused
the
that all
act
things that
is
happen.
you're making some, well, the other speaker tries to make a distinction too, that the act is bad, yet it ought to occur.
But he said it was good. So I think either he was confused, or I misheard it, or I'm not sure.
God has foreordained whatever comes to pass, right?
Yes.
And you cash
And so whatever comes to pass would be good to God, right? It ought to
No,
happen.
no, no.
It ought to happen,
God.
or not ought to happen.
So I think you're getting
Then
confused with
is
all things
good
oughting to
is
happen.
goodness a normative
No, so I
notion?
think that's where the confusion is. Everything that happens isn't necessarily
okay.
good. That God predestines evil things to also happen.
Well, God foreordains whatever comes to pass, and sinful actions of sinful men are things that come to pass, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so when you said like you said yeah, and you answered really fast, and then you're like, in some cases. What are those cases in which it ought to occur? Do you just mean the ones where it occurs?
I'm sorry. So you're saying that in the cases that it does occur?
Whatever
Well,
God
it's
foreordains,
I'm just asking, like when I said
happen?
I said ought child rape occur, and then you said yes in some cases. And by in some cases, do you just mean the cases where it occurs?
Well, I'm saying that you would be a rapist. I would be a rapist if it wasn't for the divine hand of God suppressing my evil desires. Everyone in this room would actually be the rapist here, but God's good
But
enough to
hang on a
suppress
second,
every man's evil.
because bad out. You see, I mean, like I've been pretty cool to you, right? And then I feel like you didn't
I think you're
answer
a cool
my
guy.
question.
No,
I think you didn't answer my question. I've even answered like all your questions. Honestly, it's like, oh yeah, I'm a fan of Darth or whatever. I played along with all your script or whatever. And then I just asked you a simple question. I'm like, hey man, like you said, child rape ought to occur in some cases, and I was like, oh, some cases. That mean that's that because that feels like it's like, oh, like depending on the circumstances, maybe this case it should occur, but in this case maybe it shouldn't occur. But but in all cases that it occurred, it should have occurred. So I don't know what you mean by when you say in some cases it should occur. Sounds like to
Yeah.
me you're just saying in all the cases that it occurred, it should have occurred.
No, I'm saying that specifically that man
No?
desires evil acts in their hearts, but not all those evil acts come into fruition
Whoops,
or
we left God out of it
actualize.
again. Left God out of it again. Whoops.
What?
Sweet. Jack, you hear this? I'm having trouble following this, Jack?
Tom, I'm just saying really simply that just because someone has an evil desire in their heart, let's say to do rape, that doesn't necessarily mean that's always going to happen.
Because it wasn't ordained by God to occur.
Yes, exactly. The ones only specifically when God takes his fingers off of a evil man's heart do these evil actions come into being because God predestined it to occur
They were
to
never
show
going to
the true.
occur. They're never going to
Yeah,
occur. They were never even
yeah,
on the table to
absolutely.
occur.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
But to the man,
Whoa. That's a
that's his
great take.
fantasies and that's his desires.
God's holding back
So
all
he
the
wants them
evil
to
people. The
happen.
only way the evil people can do stuff is when God lets go.
Yeah, exactly. To show the true character
Wow.
of the person.
That's
Wow.
crazy.
Wow.
Sorry, little baby. I had to
Yeah,
let
I'm
him
just kidding.
go. I'm sorry, little baby guy. I had to let him go do his thing.
So
Sorry.
So just to be clear,
so total depravity means that man wants to do absolutely everything evil, like we
Yeah.
want to.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's what total depravity means to you.
Yeah. What else could that mean? You're totally depraved. Depraved of what? God's goodness. So that what are you left with? Complete
hold on a
evil.
second. Hold on a second.
Total
Hold
depravity
on a
doesn't mean
second.
that we would constantly murder, constantly rape, constantly steal, and so forth.
Yeah. God's suppressing your evil desires. Absolutely.
So you're saying that okay, there's a
Calvinism doesn't
guy
believe what you're
that
saying.
got there's a child rapist, right? And now God has his little finger on him, right, in some sort of like ephemeral supernatural way. And that finger prevents him from enacting a rape on a child, right?
Yeah.
That's what you're saying. God holds them back, right?
I say the finger.
Hold on, hold
I'm
on.
saying
Just hey,
metaphorically, right?
relax, bro,
I'm saying.
relax, dude. Take it easy, relax. That's what you're saying, right? That's how you describe the situation. This rapist wants to rape that child, but God's little finger, in whatever way he's holding him down, is preventing that sinful man's nature and desires to rape that child, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Just like yours, just like mine, just like anyone else here. Yeah,
Whoa,
completely.
whoa, easy with that.
Hold on a
No, I'm
second.
saying this
Hold
is.
on.
I'm not
Let's
saying
not.
this.
I know.
This is
Let's
for
not
all
get triggered.
people.
I'm not. Look. I'm not gonna get distracted by this bullshit, right? Okay. So, okay, that's the case. So, when child rape does occur, that's indicative of God releasing his finger from the rapist, and then the man acts out on his desire to rape a child, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Would you say that God facilitated the rape of a child in that situation?
No, it's why would he? He's not the actor of the rape.
Yeah, that's not what a facilitator is.
Are you talking about he made the settings for it?
He acted in a way which made it more conducive to have rape.
Well, I'm saying he's making the settings of all existence.
Like, for example, if you're in jail, right, and I have the key and I throw it through the bars and you escape the jail, I have facilitated your escape from jail. I have helped you to achieve your desire of escaping the jail. In this case, the poor person with the desire is the rapist, and
Yeah, but
facilitating is
you have to
taking
see the
God's
fundamental
finger off the
difference.
rapist. Huh?
Yeah, but I know it was an example that you throwing whatever the prisoner the key. But yet again, I know all examples aren't perfect, but you have to understand the fundamental difference between another person assisting another person in escaping and enforcing a crime versus God, which he reinforces all possibilities in all situations. Do you see how that's
Yeah.
not
Well, the
equal?
analogous property is the assisting part, right? And without the assist of the removal of the constraints on the rapist, then that person wouldn't have raped, right?
Yeah, but again, ultimately, he is the threat actor, so he's the one attached to the action, so he's the one responsible for the action.
Yeah, I don't see what that changes, right? Like
look, if you're handcuffed,
I'm agreeing with you if you're saying that God reinforces all possibilities, and in this situation, we're talking about the possibility of the rape occurring.
bro, the only thing holding back the rape from occurring is God's finger. God removes his finger to allow the rape to occur, with the intent to allow the rape to occur. How can you not say that God facilitated that child rape?
God facilitates all existence. Of course, he's going to
Okay,
facilitate
so
that specific
is
thing.
child rape a part of existence?
Yes,
Is,
that's why I
okay,
said evil.
so
Rape
now,
evil. Yeah,
so God facilitates God facilitates all existence. Child rape is in the set of existence.
yes.
Now, here's the
Yes.
easy part: does God facilitate child rape?
And I'm literally letting you know, yes, because he facilitates all things.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Is that's a yes? Just to be clear.
But again, you have a misunderstanding
This is
potentially
weird.
in
Just like
thinking that
just look.
he's the threat actor of it.
This look. It's just to be clear. I thought you said yes, but I just want to make clear. Did you say yes?
Yes, but I think you're jumping the gun in conclusions here. I'm just letting you know
Gotcha.
that
Okay. So
again, he's
God.
not the actor of the evil.
There we go. God facilitates child rape. Thank you. I just want to get clear on that.
Yeah, that's just a very oddly specific thing to say, which I think it's almost loaded.
Well, I don't know about the specificity. To me, that makes it an odd thing to say. That might be what's making it odd for
Okay.
you.
It's
Well,
low.
But
It,
when when I hear that and I think
let's
it's
be fair.
odd, I'm
Let's be
actually
fair,
thinking
John.
about something different, like saying God facilitates child rape.
Okay, well, according to your worldview, what is actually wrong with rape?
what the
Oh,
hell?
got me.
We've been like putting
Now we have
Calvinism on Trump for a while. I'm just
fully
curious
moved
to
it. Now
you,
we have
what is
fully
wrong with
taken the
rape?
burden off of him now.
Well, what do you mean by wrong? Do you think that you and I both have the same idea of wrong with respect to our worldviews?
No, I, I'm asking you specifically why you think it's wrong, regardless of what I
Well, I
think
mean,
about
like
it is
I
wrong.
take wrong to mean something like it's mean. And if that's the case, then it would be mean, don't you think?
So you're against rape because you personally think it's
No, no,
mean.
I didn't say about anything about for or against, right? I didn't say any. Did you hear me say
Okay.
anything about that?
No, well, no, you can correct me.
Because I thought you said, well, I'm just gonna go with what you mean by wrong, right?
No, I'm just rephrasing it to make sure I understand it.
Well, no, it wasn't a rephrasing because you added a bunch of other stuff about what was it? What I wanted to do or something like that, right?
What? No, how about you just rephrase it just to make sure I understand?
Yeah, so when I say something is wrong, it's wrong to steal, it's wrong to punch someone in the nose, it's wrong to like kick a baby or a dog. What I mean by that is it's mean.
You personally think it's mean, right?
Yeah, well, not just personally. The agent who is the subject of the action doesn't want it to happen, and
Wait,
that's a
wait,
fact.
wait. No. There's some people. There's some weirdos out there that like being beat up. There's some people that like being abused. They get a kick out of that
Yeah, in
too.
those cases, it wouldn't be mean. Yeah, and that would be a fact too.
No, wait. So you're saying that, and sometimes it's wrong to do mean things because they're mean, but sometimes it's not wrong to do mean things because
We have
they're
these
mean, but they like
gradations
it.
within our own
No, they
laws.
wouldn't be
It's not like
mean.
it's
It wouldn't
hard
be
to
mean,
understand.
right?
No, but people like mean things. That's the point.
Well, that wouldn't necessarily be mean in the same way, would it?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. No. I like mean things because they're mean and I enjoy them.
It wouldn't be mean to the person.
But
Yeah.
again, it still doesn't make any sense from your worldview. It's not absolutely wrong to do mean things. That's
What do
just
you
your
mean by
preference. Just
absolutely wrong?
I'm just saying, like we just talked about these specific cases that it's okay to do mean things, and sometimes it's not okay to do mean things, but it's not absolutely wrong to do mean things, right?
You mean like always wrong?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, yeah, it would depend on whether or not they wanted or something like that. Yeah, stuff like that.
So some people could want to be mutilated, some people could want to be violated, and that's okay, regardless of its
Well,
mean.
I mean, I thought the idea of rape was that it is unwanted, right? It's coerced.
Okay, so you're saying if the other receiving party had that done to them, then it would be wrong. Based on what?
Anyway, based on, he was just saying that that's what he means by wrong, something like that, right?
No, but what standard is he saying that? His personal preferences?
I don't know what you mean by what standard.
I'm asking, what is the standard that he's using to determine that that action
It's
is wrong?
mean, and that can be like some sort of family resemblance, and that's gonna like appeal to things like harm, whether or not the subject wants it, what's the
Well,
degree of
wouldn't
the
you agree that
harm,
all
you know?
words are subjective and arbitrary, and we just define words and that they're not
Well,
objective in their meaning? So
Well,
like how
utterances
you
are, but
define
we're clear
harm?
about what we're talking about now, right?
No, well, you are arbitrarily defining harm or rape as harm. I'm arbitrarily defining rape as a good thing. What's the difference?
You're defining rape as a good thing?
Well, just hypothetically.
That's oh, hypothetically. Oh, okay.
So I'm just saying. So what is the difference between our definitions?
Well, I'm telling you what I mean by a word, right? So when you say you're talking about why do you think something's wrong? Well, I take that wrong to mean something. If you have a different idea of what that word means or you want, then we're not really talking about the same thing. But we already know we're not talking about the same thing, right? Because you think wrong means some sort of like, knowledge and some sort of like, I don't know, moral fact that exists somewhere or something like that, right?
no,
Because
I
some
think
guys.
his view is he has like a subjective view of right and wrong.
Oh, you
No,
got a subjective view, right and wrong?
no. So yes. I mean, if we're talking about we're talking about Tom's worldview specifically, right? So we're just having a conversation about his standard of wrong in this situation applied to rape or really just anything. I'm just confused. So it's connected to your personal preference, right, Tom?
Yeah, but that you have the same view, right, about personal
No,
preference.
a personal preference is internal. Mine's external reference point of or external standard of truth and knowledge.
Wait, I don't know what you mean by a standard of truth and knowledge, but like if Tom said that what he thinks is right or wrong is what his Aunt Sally thinks, would that count as an external source?
No, well, because Aunt Sally has a mind, and that's subjective.
Wait, so God God isn't subjective? He's not a mind and is subjective?
Wait, does God have a mind? Maybe he's got us here. This God
Well,
doesn't
I'm
have a
just
Yeah.
saying
mind, right?
when we're using the term mind and in the term of objectivity and subjectivity, we're talking about specifically human minds. That's
Well,
implied
what's
in
an
these
objective
definitions. And we're
mind?
not
What do
literally
you mean?
talking about the human.
What do you mean by an objective mind as opposed to a subjective mind?
No, I'm saying in the definitions for objectivity, it's non-mind dependent, whereas subjectivity
Wait,
is
but
mind
God is a
dependent.
mind, right? So you're saying that
Yeah,
what what
but
God
he's the one that
thinks is.
determines facts.
What do you mean? What does that mean to say that he determines facts?
So I'm just saying when us humans are using the terms objectivity and subjectivity, we're implying and referencing minds when talking about those definitions. We're implying human minds because
Is that
obviously
an
our
answer to
minds do
my?
not determine
Is that an
facts.
answer to my question?
What was your question?
My question was, what does it mean to say that he determines facts?
What does it mean that God determines
Yeah.
facts? Is that He's created all things of possibilities and things that is
But what does it
He's
mean?
determined what is
What does
true.
it mean? Yeah, I'm trying to understand that. So, has he determined the truth that he exists?
Well, he could
How?
because it is a fact that He exists,
Yeah, but you said he
and that's
determines.
derived
You
from
said
Him.
he determines all facts.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so he's determined the fact that he exists.
Yeah,
What does that mean?
that's just a self-deriving fact.
Yeah, but what does it mean to say that a fact is self-derived?
Because God exists,
Did he cause his
and again, it
existence?
follows that it is true that God exists, which is a fact.
Yeah, but
A fact that again does not depend on our minds to
because
perceive. It's
wait, wait,
true.
wait, wait, wait. Because I exist, it follows that it's true that I exist. That's a
Mm-hmm.
self-derived fact.
Are you talking for God in this situation, or you?
I just did me. I just talked about me. I'm trying to understand what's the difference
No,
between
you
me and God.
well, do you know that you exist, Jack?
Do I know it? Why are you talking about knowledge? I thought we were talking about determining facts.
Well, you're saying that you determine facts now?
Sorry, you said that God determines the fact that he exists. And I'm trying to understand what that means. And
Yeah.
you said it's a self-derived
Well,
fact. And the
yeah.
way you explained what a self-derived fact was to say the fact that God exists means that it's true.
Yeah, because he determines what is true, what is actually
I'm trying to
possible and will
understand. I'm
happen.
trying to understand how it is that God determines that he exists.
Did he
Well,
cause
I'm
his
saying
own
he
existence?
determines the fact that he
Yeah, what
exists.
does that mean?
Yeah, did
Is
he
it a
cause his
fact? So
existence?
in the God world, very quickly, is it true that God exists?
Okay, let's say yes.
Okay, so that is a fact that God exists. So where did that fact come from?
What does that mean to say where does the fact come from?
I'm just saying that all facts are connected back to God
Connected?
because He creates all facts.
Wait, you're
Yes.
saying he creates the fact that he exists, and I'm trying to understand what that means.
Yeah. We're talking about the metaphysical part of
Does he
facts.
create his existence? Is that what you mean?
So no, that's again, He's eternal, so that's already out of the realm of
So he doesn't
possibility.
create his existence.
No, but He created the fact that He exists.
Yeah, so what's the distinction between his existence and the fact of his existence?
So it is a fact that God created all facts.
Yeah, is that an answer to my question?
Well, do you think that God is a fact?
Why are you asking me a question?
Well, again, that's what it sounds like. I think you're getting confused that, yeah, God is not a fact.
How about just
I just want to make
answering
sure
my
that that's
question?
clear.
How about just answering my question?
Not good. What was the question?
You don't remember?
I mean, we're kind of been going back and forth.
Yeah, all right. So what's the distinction between God's existence and the fact of his existence?
Yeah, so God exists, and that's eternal, right? And regardless of again Him putting that into a fact that's perceivable for mankind or for any person, or regardless if it's imperceivable or unperceivable, is regardless. But I'm saying a fact is a reference point of a true event. Facts represent what happened, what is true in
What
reality.
does that mean? So you understand a fact to be something like a proposition? Is that the idea?
Well, what do you mean by proposition? How would you define that?
A declarative statement.
Proposition is what's expressed by a declarative statement.
Well, it expresses an opinion or judgment, right? You're not using it like that.
As a truth value.
No, proposition.
I'm saying
I'm saying if
a proposition isn't always true. That's the issue I'm getting at.
yeah.
Truth value,
So a
though.
fact is. So you're saying a fact is a true proposition.
Yes, that's what I said earlier. Is a reference point of truth.
Okay, so by fact you mean true proposition, and so you want to distinguish. Um, you want to distinguish a true proposition from what the proposition is about. Let's say a state of affairs, and so you want to say God's existence is a state of affairs, and the
I would just say,
proposition.
well, I would just say really quickly, it's a true state of affairs.
Well, all states of affairs. Well, I'm talking about when I say state of affairs here, I just mean true state of affairs, right?
Okay, well, sure, but that's what I
Can
was
there be
wondering about. If you were
false?
saying that
Can there be
how
false
you
state of
perceive it.
affairs?
No,
Yeah.
no,
I mean,
I'm just
but
saying you can
I don't
perceive a
I
state
don't
of affairs
understand.
inaccurately.
Well, I guess I don't understand what you mean by true state of affairs. Actually, to tell you the truth, because I thought truth and falsehood was a property of propositions.
Oh, which propositions, the true ones or the false ones?
Yeah, it's
A
propositions
proposition
that
can
are
be either
true
true or
or false.
false.
Yeah, it's
No,
propositions
I'm
that are
talking about.
true or false. So I'm
Well,
not
I'm
sure
saying that
what you mean by a true state of affairs.
it would just be a true proposition or fact.
No, you just
That is,
distinguished a state of affairs from a proposition or a fact, right? So it can't be the same thing because you said
no,
you made a point of distinguishing those two things. So they can't be the same thing.
So is God creating propositions, or is he creating all states of affairs?
I'm saying he's creating. I mean, he created everything in existence, which would detail all of that.
So he created himself.
He created himself.
Well, again, that's what I. This is literally what I just said 5 minutes ago. That God is not a fact, or God is not a state of affairs.
I don't
He's not in
understand.
God's
creation.
existence is not a state of affairs.
No,
God's
because
existence
I'm
is not a
saying
state of affairs.
no, because he exists outside of his creation, which would contain all facts or state of affairs.
So it's not a fact that God exists.
No, I said he created the fact that he exists.
Wait, I thought that his existence was outside of human, outside of, what was the term you used?
Are you talking
Outside of
about
his
within creation?
creation. Outside of his creation, yeah. I thought his existence was outside of his creation.
No, but still, God has a role in maintaining creation. So it's the fact that God exists. He created all facts. He's connected to that fact, and the fact that God maintains his creation
I'm just
is a fact as well.
considered apart from creation. Is it a fact that God exists?
Apart from creation, that what?
That God exists.
Wait, are you saying if creation was not here, would God exist?
Yeah. Let's say prior to creation. Was it a fact that God existed?
Yeah, but the entire point here, the issue is that we wouldn't be able to perceive it or talk about it
Yeah,
because
that
we
leads
also
to a
exist in that
difference that
creation.
makes, right? You're saying it was a fact that God existed prior to creation, right?
Well, I'm just saying that, and the way we're talking about facts, there's no way to talk about facts, in a world where again we are
He's
dependent
back. He's
on
back to
God's
the
creation.
original claim again.
It was a fact that God existed prior to creation, right?
Not in the way that we're talking about it.
What does that mean? What's the difference?
So is it true that God existed before creation? Yes.
Uh-huh.
Now
So
I'm just saying that the
at
difference,
that
the
moment
nuance.
of time, was it a fact that God existed?
Well, that's the issue because you're evoking time. There was no time before God created creation.
Um,
Nor were there perceivable facts.
well, I guess I don't know what you mean by creation if there was no
Well, that's the
time.
issue. I don't think we can understand what it's like to be in a reality without time,
I just
let
you're
alone
you're the
facts.
one who's saying creation, and I'm trying to understand what that means.
No, I'm just saying. You can just substitute that in for reality.
Creation means reality? No, I'm talking about the
Yes.
act of creating.
What about the act of creating?
Yeah, so I'm trying to understand what it means to act outside of time.
Well, do you think that time always eternally existed?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Do you think time eternally existed?
Yeah, that's just repeating the question that I don't understand.
It's an eternal, a temporal notion.
Yeah, I mean, do you understand
Is,
eternal temporally?
wait, wait, what do you mean?
Like, when you're talking about something being eternal, are you referencing time?
No, I'm referencing the never ending. Well, no, what eternal it has no time in eternal. Well, I guess it's a good thing to bring up, but it's hard. But I'm just saying, yeah, time or eternality is timeless.
Eternality is timeless. So do I think time is timeless?
No, I'm just asking your particular view on time. Do you think it had a starting point?
Oh, I don't take a position on that.
Okay, so you don't know.
That's right.
Well, do you know that you exist in reality?
I guess so.
Well, I would say that that sounded like kind of a yes. If so, then why?
Why what?
Why do you guess so?
I mean, it seems like a strange question to ask somebody, do you know that you exist in reality? Like,
No,
obviously, if they understood
I think
if
90%
they
of
understood,
the questions we've been asking here would be strange if to ask a person on the street, but this is
I
a
don't know
highly
why
specific
I don't know
conversation.
why you're asking that. I'm just trying to understand what it means to say that an atemporal being created something.
Who's the atemporal being?
God.
What do you are you saying that he created? It's weird that he created what time?
Well, created time, I guess, would be one thing, but pretty much anything. Like if you're outside of time, I don't really understand what creation even means.
That's the point. He's given all things meaning, and the entire point is you're limited to what you
I
could
don't know what it
understand.
means to say that he has given all things meaning. So that's another thing you'd have to explain, because I don't understand what it means to give meaning. But
Well, I'm just
that's
saying
just going to take us down.
he defined what meaning is. What's possible in meaning.
I don't know what you mean by that. That he defined
Just
it.
the fact that we're having this conversation to attest to it.
You're saying he caused it? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, he defined meaning.
Is that a causal relation?
Is it dependent on God?
When you say definition, I'm just trying to understand if that's a causal concept or not.
Yeah, but I'm just trying to make sure what has caused the meaning, right?
I'm just saying that when you say somebody defines something, I take it that's some kind of causal notion, meaning that something caused something to happen, something to be some
Yes.
way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But see, you keep talking about atemporal beings causing things, and I just don't understand what you mean by a cause
Well,
there.
but wait, atemporal, you mean eternal, right?
Yeah. What you mean by eternal.
That he's defined. So you have an issue with God causing something,
Yeah,
an
because
eternal being causing something.
I have an understanding of what causes are, and it involves time, right? Like two things happen, like you might say a cause precedes its effect, right? Or maybe there are some cases simultaneous causes. So I take a cause to be some kind of conjunction in time, maybe, between two
So
things.
you're. Mm.
Some kind of, constant conjunction, if we're talking about efficient causes.
Are these just speculations, or are these state of affairs in
This
reality?
is what I'm understanding a cause to be. But
Well,
you
where does
seem
your
to me,
understanding of any? Where does your understanding of reality come from?
I don't see what the relevance of that is. So
You're
you
attesting to your
obviously,
understanding, sir.
yeah, so you mean something else by cause, and I'm just trying to understand what it is.
No. Well, you just literally just went on and you're talking about your speculations, and you've said you've come to the
I've
understanding
said
that
that's
these are
what I
possible.
understand. That's what I understand by
Well,
causation, and
sure,
that's
sure.
clearly
I'm
not
asking you.
what that's clearly not
I'm
what
just
you mean. So I'm
yeah.
trying to understand what you mean.
Well, it's just simple. I'm just asking where your understanding comes from. Do you
Yeah,
not
it's
know?
not relevant. It's not relevant to my question, which is what do you mean by a cause?
Do you understand it as not? Do you understand my question as not being relevant? How do you understand that?
Yeah, are you trolling now?
Yes,
So
he is. That is
the
just pure
question on the
obfuscation.
table is what do you mean by a cause?
You know my position as a Calvinist
No.
that God is causing everything in creation.
Yeah, it doesn't tell me what a cause is. Right? Obviously, when I ask you what a cause is, I don't want you to use the word to define it.
He set forth all things that are possible
Yeah,
and
but
will
I'm just
happen.
trying to understand what you think the setting forth relation is. Like using a synonym is not going to help me. I've given you my understanding of what a cause is,
No,
and that's not consistent with the idea of an atemporal being causing
yeah,
things,
but
right?
you gave me your speculation based on your understanding, and you refused to answer where your understanding
So,
comes from.
yeah, it's not relevant. So
No, you understanding it as not being relevant again, but you're just begging the question. How do you
what do you mean by begging the question? What question have
because
I begged?
again the question I'm asking you
Your question is not relevant to my question, which is what's on the table,
based
which
on
is
your
what you
understanding.
mean by a cause. I'm just asking you what you
You,
mean by a cause.
no, but this now is getting circular because again you're saying yeah I understand it as not being relevant, but again I understand my understanding is not. It just keeps going into circular question. It begs it again. Where does your understanding come from?
We're not talking about my understanding. We're talking about your understanding. You're the one who keeps saying God has this determinative relation to facts, right? And he's outside of time and all this stuff. And I'm just trying to understand what you understand causation to be.
Well, I mean, I said it in a different way. He set forth all possibility facts.
Yeah, it's just using a
and how.
synonym for cause. That's not really telling me what you understand the cause to be.
So you want me to describe how God does God's job? I think that goes.
I'm just
I don't
trying to
think anyone has an
understand,
answer.
right? I'm trying to understand what it is that's the common property between a billiard ball causing another billiard ball to fall into a pocket and God causing the fact of his own existence to be true.
So yeah. So as I said before, yeah, God sets all facts
Yeah, what does that
within
mean?
creation,
Yeah, what does
within
that
the realm of
mean?
our existence.
Yeah, what does that mean?
Yeah. Again, facts are helpful for us to understand reality.
No, I'm asking what you mean by set forth.
I mean, it's just like a programmer instantiating something within the code.
So again, did God cause his own existence? Yes or no?
A programmer
No,
instantiating a
that's the
code is,
separation that I keep emphasizing. Just
So the answer
because,
is
yeah,
no,
there's a
right?
fact
The
that
answer
God
is no.
exists.
God did not
Well,
create
yeah, God
himself.
is not a fact.
God's
Yeah,
not a
just because
fact.
God creates a,
That's
I'm saying the
hilarious
fact.
that God is not a fact. That is hilarious.
No, it is a fact that God exists, but God does not exist as a fact.
but I don't, what does that even mean? You mean,
Yeah,
it's,
we're talking. What do you? Okay, Jack. What do you think facts are?
I mean, there's probably different usages of it, but since you're the one who's using it, maybe you should be the
No,
one
no,
explaining
no,
it.
Jack. I think this is the issue. Do you think you can touch a fact?
I don't know what you mean by a fact.
Okay, so I'm asking you, can you touch it? A fact.
I
However
don't
you
know
would
why
define
you're
it as well.
asking me any questions. We're trying to understand your view.
This is ridiculous, man. If you're just refusing to answer, I'm trying to answer yours in best faith as I can. You
Yeah, but
refuse to answer
I'm
any of
not,
mine. I thought this
this,
was a discussion, man.
no, it's not, this is not, what is Jack Angstreich's view of the world? What does he mean by these?
Well,
Is it a
You're
fact
the
that
one
God
that,
exists?
you're the one who's making all kinds of
well,
claims, and
yes,
we're
yes,
just
Floyd.
trying to
I will. Yes, I said
understand
that
what
before.
those claims are.
Yeah, in your worldview, is it a fact that your God exists?
Yeah, I said that.
Oh, it is. All right. So
Yes.
did God create himself?
No, that's what I'm saying. That God's eternal, but He creates facts, and specifically the fact
Did
that
he
He
create the
exists
fact that he
created.
exists?
Yeah, I'm saying facts exist in creation.
Well, I'm not talking about that. We're talking about your God.
Yeah, I'm saying He's
You
separate
said
from
God
creation.
creates all facts, and you said it's a fact that God exists. So by
Hmm.
that logic, God created the fact that he exists, right?
Yes. Yes.
So did God create himself?
No. He created the fact that He exists, but not Himself.
So what does it mean to create the fact that he exists, but not create
Well,
himself?
this is what I've asked
He
before.
created the
What do you think a
proposition?
fact is?
Do you think a
It's a
fact is
true
a
problem.
okay? So a fact is a true proposition, all right?